Hello there. Welcome to the new moon or the black moon in Virgo. The chart looks really complex, as we would expect with the Virgo Sun and Virgo moon. Overanalyzing and overthinking is the name of the game right now. Wanting everything to be perfect, wanting everything to be clear. This is that, that's what that is, that's what that's called. This is what we're doing. This is the order of it. It's a great time to be getting organized. And so depending where you are, school might already be back for some of you. And it's a great aspect for that, for school coming back to online. I mean, not online, but you know what I mean. It's coming back. Otherwise, maybe it's highlighting where you do not feel organized or in control at all in your life. And that's never fun. But it does show you where you need to start. Maybe it's ordering your home. Maybe it's paperwork you got to get done. Maybe there's a backlog of phone calls and emails you haven't returned. Maybe there's something you have to read and truly understand before you go forward with something. It's the details. Virgo is the details, the minuscule splitting hairs that matter, good. In general, Virgo planets, Virgo season, good time to go over legal matters, paperwork on that level. Planning, it's a great time for planning, writing stuff. So again, maybe you're making some crazy intense to-do list, or maybe you're just trying to conquer some aspect, some area of your life that requires some organization and writing. Could even be just if you've been in summer brain, as we all have with the heat wave, just cannot think logically or analyze much in a heat wave, right? You're just very much in your body, flowing day to day with whatever emotion or whatever you have energy for. And then the light has changed, and we're not in fall yet, but we know it's coming because the light has changed. It's getting darker earlier. We've had a few cool nights, and your body just knows fall's coming. Excuse me. Ooh, fall's coming. Got a plan. Gotta make sure we're prepared. There's all kinds of stuff if you are have a garden, if you're planting, if you're farming, if you want to just be stocking your pantry, if you want to be, harvesting stuff and preparing. It's the, late August is sort of like a first harvest, and then we'll go into the bigger harvest around Thanksgiving time. But now it's the time to sort of like get ready, prepare, start calming down and coming back to the feminine energy, the yin, which won't happen until the sun officially goes into at the solstice on the 21st of September. That's when officially, okay, we go back into the yin cycle, the feminine energy, calming down, cooling down, darker, receptive, planting seeds. So it's all a good time to just be letting yourself shift and feel what you need to do next. So if you are interested in readings, yes, I'm still doing readings. Never stop. So if you would like an appointment, you just message me below or find me on riverrain.com or on my Facebook, Catherine Allen, Instagram, Catherine Allen Author. And otherwise, we're just going to dive right in and take a look at this chart now. All right, and as usual, it's cast for the Eastern time zone. I decided to shift it for Montreal. Whew. Instead of New York. I have no idea why I'm yawning so much. I've been sleeping a lot. So Here we go. I'm going to make this video a little shorter than usual, partly because I'm pressed for time and I started this a bit late to get this chart started, this video started. The new moon sort of crept up on me. I've been very busy with lots to organize and lots of moving parts, and I'm assuming you are too. And a lot of people have been telling me that they find it quite hard to hear their own intuition lately because they feel there's too much going on all at once. And why will this thing not? There, now we can see the whole. I don't know if this taskbar is getting in your way or just mine. So anyway, now we can see the whole chart. All right, so what we have here is beautiful though, because the new moon here in the Eastern time zone has Cancer rising and Jupiter on the rising sign. Beautiful energy, very caring, very nurturing, expansive. Only thing with Jupiter in Cancer, like that's all year round, but when it's on your rising sign, you're going to want to eat. You're going to want to eat, eat, and eat, and eat. Or you consume other things, but it's usually abundance of food, abundance of emotion, abundance. So there can be a lot of outpouring from the heart. There can be, you know, nice conditions for getting closer to people. You might feel like people are taking care of you. You might feel inspired to take care of others back. You know, it's a very loving, generous energy, Jupiter in Cancer. It's the most nurturing, lovely, thoughtful, I'll help you out, I understand what you're going through kind of planet there is. And it's on the rising sign, which is wonderful because the other intensity of some of these planetary oppositions we're seeing in squares does make it harder for people. And if the overall outward face of it is compassion and thoughtfulness and care, that's going to be super helpful for whatever inner tension there is. So look here, we also have Venus is still in Cancer. It's 27 degrees. It's also in the first house, which also just brings, again, a very feminine, abundant, motherly, come here, I'll give you a hug. You want the cookie kind of vibe. Relating and empathizing with people, very strong right now still. Now, interestingly, Venus, though, is opposing Pluto in Aquarius. So Venus and Pluto opposite each other can create some drama and jealousy and competition. Sometimes it could get nasty. Pluto in Aquarius wants you to just not be emotional and detach. Everything's rational. Thank you very much. And Venus in Cancer is like, I'm sorry. I don't care how logical you think you are. You still have emotions and you still need mothering. You can't deny that you have emotional needs. And Pluto in Aquarius is like, what emotional needs? Totally denies it. So, but Venus, Pluto typically would be power struggles, competition, jealousy with other women, with women. So even if you're a man, this could apply to you. Could be between women, could be between, you know, a man and a woman, but that energy's in the house. So, you know what, though? I mean, Venus is making good aspects here to Saturn and Neptune and a square to Chiron. So hard to say how that'll play out really with Venus, which is your desires, your desire to care for people, your desire to help people, your desire to step in and you know, rescue them from their pain. Venus squaring Chiron, which is still the tail end of Aries here. That's a little tough. You know, it's like you might be out of your depth with your desire to help. Meaning like sometimes, right, like no matter how much you love someone or care about somebody or how much you could do for them or how much you know that could help them, or you could be dealing with a situation or people where it's just way over your head, way out of your depth. You know, maybe that person needs a psychiatrist, psychologist, a lawyer, you know, a doctor. Somebody else really needs to professionally step in and help with that, with their wounds. They're far too deep for just baking cookies or for sitting and listening, or I'll help you do this, or I'll do that errand for you, or yeah. So, you know, you can make people's lives easier, but this would be sort of a message of like, make sure that you're not overdoing it with how much you give and to who. You know, it's not saying don't give. That's Pluto and Aquarius a little bit, like you're on your own, figure it out. It's just, you know, having giving, but with some limitations on your giving. Yeah. Now, Venus in Cancer is making a nice aspect though to Saturn and Neptune in Aries, which would be about, you know, self-sufficiency with Aries, pioneering, breaking new ground, taking, you know, stepping forward in a new direction, getting a sense of yourself and your confidence and your, but Neptune is there, so it's not so easy right now to do that. But perhaps you or people close to you really do need to find a stronger sense of themselves, and they need to be able, they need to start taking action in their lives. So once again, you know, Venus in Cancer is there wanting to soothe something or soothe that person or soothe you from, but you here's the thing with these planets, you don't want to be enabling somebody. It's a very fine line, and this is a Virgo theme too, because Virgo wants to serve. Virgo wants to help and serve as well. Cancer wants to mother. Okay. Virgo is like, I'll teach you how to do that. I'll teach you how to bake cookies. You want cookies? I'll teach you how to organize your kitchen, and I'll organize a team and we'll bake some cookies. You know, Cancer is like, give you a hug and feed you a cookie. And we need that nurturing energy to help whatever situation or person or whatever's going on. We all need that mothering, nurturing sometimes. However, we all know that that kind of thing could become coddling, right? Oh, poor baby, you know, it's okay. You don't have to do anything today. No, 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 it's fine. Like, okay, it's all right. Well, you know, you're late. You're always late. You never show up on time. You never call me about it. I've let it slide. Oh, it's okay. Just one more time. You know, well, you know, you just can't. Like coddling and enabling people to not take action, to not be self-sufficient, to not grow up is not good. So we're at a delicate line of like, how much helping and caring do you do that is actually effective to give the person some sort of breather or respite or a leg up without sort of enabling and doing everything for them because they're too afraid or they're too insecure, they're too lazy or whatever it is. So that's an interesting theme of this chart, I would say. Whoa. All of a sudden, my camera's going funny. All right, well, ignore the disco effect of my video right now. I am here. I'm not a hologram. This is crazy. Mercury's not even retrograde. Alrighty, well, I'm going to continue. The other complicated thing is that Jupiter in Cancer, this generous, giving, loving, nurturing side, is squaring off with Libra and Mars and Libra. Now, Mars and Libra is, you know, not a great position for Mars. It's not assertive. It's quite wishy-washy. And so again, we have this energy in the air with Mars and Libra where people right now would rather keep the peace and not have to do anything or decide anything. This is driving me crazy, this little camera thing. I don't know what to do about it. Anyway, I'm going to continue. So Mars in Libra sets the stage also for like, do not enable, do not do too much for everybody. Don't overextend your good-natured caring if somebody is not ready to decide or hovering back and forth or not willing to take responsibility, because Mars and Libra doesn't help with any of this either. And it's also opposing Saturn and Neptune. The desire to just have everything easy peasy and get along with everyone and simplify things and not decide means that there is a strong desire to just please people, please other people, and give yourself away to other people. Saturn and Neptune. You need to find a backbone with these planets. If you haven't found it, and Mars is in Libra, you're going to people please. And then you've got the Virgo service-oriented side of new moon and sun in Virgo that wants to just organize and serve and get things rolling and will do the work. And then you've got the Cancerian planets that want to mother you. So to me, this chart seems extremely clear right now. Yeah. Let's see what else is going on. I think I've talked about most of it, actually. Some of the minor aspects, of course, you know, Mercury in Leo is over here. And it's sextile Mars in Libra. So if people are wanting to have parties, have backyard barbecues, have fun right now, and you just want to turn a blind eye to any conflicts or deeper problems that are going on, then it's perfect. You can have a great time this weekend. There's just like, you know, there's just this feeling in the air of like, okay, are we acknowledging the people or the issues around us and how serious some of the people's issues and problems are? Are we dashing in to rescue them, or are we offering a hand? Or are we outright denying they exist and we're just gonna have fun and worry about, you know, whether we've got a good looking patio set for our barbecue? Yeah. So it's sort of like Cancer planets are deep. They're emotionally deep. The air signs, they don't want to go deep. Mercury in Leo, it's capable of it, doesn't want to live there, doesn't want to go deep too often, wants to more have fun and be expressive. Sun and Moon in Virgo can be deep. And that's actually making a nice trine to Chiron. So again, for those that want to, there's a lovely healing energy going on, because Sun, Moon, and Virgo, especially at 0 degrees, which is so powerful, activating Chiron, the wound of the self, you can really make a lot of headway with healing something in yourself. Again, I think it's going to come down to who has the backbone to step out and take some action. If you're not ready and you don't want to, there's lots of fun to be had with these planets. There could be some very warm, lovely, intimate moments, some lovely gatherings happening. You know, it could be great for that. But just remember that under the surface, people are going through a lot of stuff, and it's like a matter of, are you ready to take personal responsibility and heal, or are you waiting to be rescued? And are you the rescuer? Very interesting. Now, hopefully when I stop sharing, my camera will not flicker like this. Otherwise, I will have to stop and start. Yeah, I'm still a hologram. I have no idea what's going on. All right, let's pause and see. All right, well, since my camera does not want to cooperate, this is too distracting. I will make a second video with the tarot for this full moon, new moon, and with the readings for the sign. See, it's even giving me some weird double. This is really weird. All right, I will make a second part. All right, so I'm back and it's much later. In fact, it's after dark now. So my camera was doing something really weird and I couldn't fix it. I didn't know what. So sorry, there's a blip and a break in the middle of the video. But let's continue with the vibe of this new moon. And now it's only happening in a few hours, so we're pretty close to it. I like doing things as close as possible to the actual energy of something, you know, even though you can feel it a few days before, a few days after, but I like being as on the minute as you can. So we're just going to pull 3 cards for other qualities of this new moon. But just to recap, now that I've had a chance to ponder the first part, I'm seeing a lot of themes of helping versus enabling, a lot of themes of overgiving and overpleasing, a need to find a way to still be in a relationship or still help somebody without submerging yourself and burning yourself out. And I'm also seeing stuff about, you know, severe people pleasing, and really like a need to learn how to put your foot down and say no and take care of yourself. So with that in mind, let's see what else is coming up for theme-wise with this new moon. So this first card is the Knight of Swords, or the King of Swords. It's a different deck than I usually use. This is called the Yolanda. I really like it. Can we see the card? No. I have to block my face for it to get on the camera. But anyway, you can see this beautiful card. So he's got his beautiful chariot being pulled by little angels, little child cherubs. He's got a big smile on his face. He's got roses on his cloak. And the shape of his chariot actually looks like birds or chickens almost, which is sort of funny. So, and his crown also looks like a flower or like a sun. So not the typical imagery for the King of Swords. King of Swords is usually, you know, ultra rational and very cool tempered, and therefore can be, you know, brilliant when it comes to technical matters or anything that requires a very cold, calculated mindset, like tech, like a surgeon, you know, like maybe a lawyer, because they've got this giant sword and they're not swayed by their emotions, and they consider that a good thing. And sometimes we do need people like that, and other times it's not a good thing, right? But this guy looks quite a bit happier. He even has a symbol of a moon on his staff. So you're looking at a slightly more sensitive or flowery or pretty version. But it's still the Knight of Swords. It's still the King of Swords. So are we looking at a very brilliant man who's also got a lot of sensitivity and compassion, or are we looking at somebody who's got a very warm and interesting and charming outer facade or mask, but is still cold inside? So that's interesting. See if you relate to that in your life, if there's someone like that. The second card coming up is the Lovers. And quite different than the typical representation of the Lovers. You still have a Cupid who's aiming at the crown of the woman. The woman is looking sideways at the man. The man is staring straight ahead. The woman has two serpents and an egg with wings, which we know is a Hermetic symbol, fertility and change, transformation. She's got honeybees all over her dress, suggesting, you know, again, high fertility. The man has a staff with a snake wrapped around it, which often, even though it's not exactly the caduceus, still a snake surrounding a staff would suggest wisdom. And he's got an eagle in front of him, which would suggest, you know, a broader, larger perspective and an ability to fly and see the big picture. And in this case, the Lovers have a giant chalice in front of them, although it's on the ground. So what it feels like to me here is what I've been saying so far. The woman is sort of like looking at him like, do you like me? Are you looking at me? And he's just looking straight ahead. He has a goal. They're a couple, but he wants to build his family, his legacy, and she wants love and babies. And the placement of the egg, when you see the egg on her dress there, it's exactly where her womb would be. So we've got, you know, King of Swords, this charming man, but perhaps with, you know, an intellectual goal or agenda. And then we have the Lovers. We have a couple. We have a woman who's perhaps meeting the said man. Now, one more card. Let's see how this goes. And we have the Five of Pentacles. We have a bull down below, which is usually typical for Taurus because it's a Taurian card. We've got a rat eating the money. Interesting. Eating pentacles. And we've got a bunch of little rats below, but it's like we've got this king rat eating all the money while the others below look like they're lacking. And we've got a giant hand, of course, from above, offering more. Usually Five of Pentacles is a card of charity, of you know, financial strain or loss. This one clearly shows one hand is offering and the other, the rat is greedy. And the Taurus, the bull in the back, is sort of watching on, sort of like, what's going on over here? You know, there's an observer wondering what's going on and, you know, do they intervene? Do they help out? Are they receiving this money, or will it all go to this rat? How interesting, eh? So to me, this feels like somebody is perhaps outsmarting or manipulating another into a bad situation that they might want them to commit to. But it doesn't look like it's in the best interest. I don't trust the motives of the king or the Lover's card male, because I see this greedy rat. And also just not accepting generosity. And also there's a coin below that has a woman with a crown on it, which looks quite similar to our Lover's card woman. And so she's represented as a coin that the rat is going to eat. So to me, this just begs again of a caution with your boundaries, a caution of overgiving. Not a time to be enabling or wishy-washy here, or to just please and say yes to whatever goes on. So we'll see how that plays out for you or for world events. Let's just see how things go for each sign now. So what's the best course of action for you with whatever situation you're imagining as you're receiving your reading? So if you want to think of a question or just pay attention to what's been on your mind mainly, I'm going to pull one card for the answer of like, how should you be acting? How should you see this issue? What action do you need to take? Because as I keep saying, Aries planets, it's time to take action. It's not time to meditate on it some more. You already know. You already know. Now you have to do something about it, or you risk being run over. All right, so Aries, what do you need to do about your situation right now? You've got the Seven of Swords. Two people facing away from each other, but they're buck naked and they're sitting on the same cauldron, which is a cat. It's interesting. The giant sword pierces between them, and they're sitting looking sort of humdrum and bored, facing totally different directions. Now, Seven of Swords is usually about, in some cards, it's like they consider it the thief, a trickster, and a thief, if you look at the Rider-Waite deck. Sometimes they call that stealth, which can be somebody, who is quite clever and meticulous about the way they're getting away with something. And in other decks, it represents futility and walking away and moving on, that something is pointless. So with the size of the sword that divides these two, even though they're sort of like, nobody's saying anything about it, but the giant sword means like there's giant difference in their thinking or a major misunderstanding. Now, underneath the cauldron that they're sitting on are piles and piles of snakes. The level of work these two would have to do to turn around and repair whatever it is monumental. So you might both have it in you to discuss things deeply, which will go into old trauma, triggers, shadows, tough terrain to get to the bottom of this disagreement or this, lack of compatibility mentally. Some of you might have it in you, and some of you probably will walk away or let this die, let this slide. All right, Taurus, what do you need to do about your situation, whatever that is? And we've got Temperance. So she draws back her arrow at the sun. There's a rainbow. She's got a cat on her skirt. There's a swan at her feet. There's a fish swimming above the waterline. Interesting. And she's piercing through the rainbow. And it's interesting because she's wearing orange and she's piercing through the rainbow on the orange color block as well. Orange is the and even just the cat on the skirt where the face is exactly where her loins are. Quite a sexuality based card here. Temperance always means timing. Certain things have to exist all at once to create certain timing, certain results. If you think about sensuality, well, and if you're with a partner, we all know there's lots of things that go into the timing of people being pleasured. But deeper than that, or equal to that, is, even a rainbow that's on the card takes certain conditions, rain and sun at the right time, the light, to create a rainbow. We can't just say, I want a rainbow, and then it happens. There's conditions and there's timing. Even there's a volcano back here too. That's another thing where it's a whole host of things that coincide at the same time to create the volcano eruption. So whatever you're dealing with, you're also dealing with timing, and it's not all about you and unfortunately, what you want when you want it, and you working harder for it so that it happens when you want it. Temperance it's always bigger than us. It always relies on you, other people, and divine timing. And there's not much you can do about it. You can just try to create the best conditions possible on your side, and you'll have to have a lot of faith and patience right now. Geminis, what should you do about your situation? And you have the Eight of Swords. Wow. And here, very interesting, this Eight of Swords is a giant hornet attack on a little village. Jesus. Okay. Jeez. Okay. And people are looking above with sort of shock and awe. The hornet's nose, one of them looks like a saw. And some of them look like they're bringing light, but some are dangerous. And some look like they're mad, like they're cross-eyed almost. And the village is red. The card's very red. Eight of Swords usually means mentally that you're being torn in too many directions, and there's too many things going on in your mind at once, to the point where you're like, your brain is freezing. There's too much. You're flooded. There's too many things, too many people, too many events, too many decisions, too many little things happening, too many interruptions, to the point where you're like, But this is interesting because the hornets attacking almost feels like your fears or your thoughts or your overwhelming obligations all coming for you at once. So your course of action is to let go of some things or delegate some things so that it doesn't, whatever you've got going on, doesn't consume you or burn you out or demoralize you. Yeah. Cancers, what is the answer for you to what you're going through right now? Okay, and you've got the Queen of Pentacles. Okay. So she's clearly in the African Sahara or Kenya or some wildlife reserve. She's got a giraffe. She's got looks like a female lion. There's cacti, flowers, there's a scarab. So that suggests like many lives. It's a volcano, but there's only smoke coming out. It's not a big eruption. Looks like a cypress tree. There's this six-pointed star. So it's not a pentagram. Six-pointed star on her crown, and her horns are pointy, so pointy and high. So this woman, ironically, even though she's standing there naked, She is well surrounded by all kinds of spiritual wisdom and support. She also has a shield. She doesn't look too worried about defending herself if she needs to. She doesn't look like she even has to. There's, like I said, there's, strong animals around her, but they look like they're there with her, not against her. And maybe this is a message for you to just take a look at who's around you, who actually likes you, loves you, supports you, that you don't have to be in a protective shell right now. Although the scarab sort of makes me feel like, are you going through some sort of past life thing right now? What's that mean? What do I mean? I mean, some of the issues that you're going through or that seem really hard to overcome, like when something feels chronic and you can't quite solve it, when patterns keep coming up and despite all your years of trying, you can't figure it out. If you're going through something like that, I would take a look at asking yourself, are you repeating something from another life? Is your lesson something karmic from another life? Is your stuckness something you lived before and you need to clear that and shift your timeline, as they say? Not like it happens overnight, but you can consciously decide that, you know what, I keep going through this pattern of, let's say, being disappointed or betrayed or let down. You don't have to keep living that over and over again to learn the lessons. You can spot early on who you can trust. Will you let yourself walk away when you see that? And stop living that karma. That's what I mean. And it's possible, that you've had many in this life for real. Disappointments, betrayals, whatever, abandonments. But again, you don't have to keep living it over and over again. You can step off that wheel. All right, Leos. What's the answer for you right now? You have the King of Cups. So this is a nice one. He has a peacock for his headdress in full feathers are out. He's carrying a chalice. He's also got the trident we normally associate with Neptune, which is more Piscean, but his chariot is literally a crab, and there's fish below on the floor, the sea floor, and there's fish on his skirt, and then it looks like maybe antelope to the side of his chariot. So this guy is very sensitive and creative. He's probably very sentimental. He might be a little bit frozen and stuck in his emotions sometimes, but he's very gentle and caring. The peacock thing is interesting because sometimes maybe is he trying too hard? Is he putting on a show? Is he dressing up and acting like a show off? That's more of a Leo theme, right? But it's a gentle person who's trying to express, all of these things at once, like caution, flow, flair. So your answer here, Leo, would be to accept that you are all of the above. Accept all these multiple sides of yourself. And not like apologizing for, but also not forcing. If you just happen to be someone who commands attention and you're not trying to, then you don't apologize for that. But don't try harder either. You just are commanding attention. Letting people see your gentle, vulnerable side sometimes. That can help people go, oh, right? Because if they see you shine and successful and strong all the time, sometimes people get jealous and then they try to tear you down. Just show a little vulnerability here and there, and they'll go, oh no, this person's actually really nice. They're not trying to show off or one up me or be better than me or whatever they think. So yeah, there's a softness there to show the world or to show people you're close to, but you're also you're here to shine. You're all of the above. It's an interesting message. All right, Virgos, what is your message on your new moon? You have the Three of Pentacles. So you can see the pyramid and the coins and the serpent and the Sphinx. You know, how interesting. The serpent is literally morphs into a paintbrush that is painting the Sphinx that it is looking at. The coins have a fish, prosperity, a bird, messages or communication, and looks like could be a cat, could be a fox. It's hard to say with those ears, like it's not that well drawn. Well, if it's a cat, that would be, you know, mystery and intuition. And if it's a fox, it's sort of cleverness, swiftness. Three of Pentacles usually means, you know, working hard, building something of, you know, building a foundation, building an empire, a business, you know, a new job, something that's paid very well, working full time. It's usually a very, you know, card about productivity. So in this case, though, it's sort of funny because, like I said, the serpent is painting the scene that is before them. So it's interesting because you're sort of, right now, it looks like it's a time of productivity, but it's also a big time to just observe. Observe who you're around, observe the patterns going on and around you, doing your best to observe your own, like, whoa, the light just fell down. Doing your best to observe your own patterns and people around you or what you notice in general. Taking note, you know, this is painting it, but you might be writing things down. You might be taking photos. I don't know, maybe you want to do your art, but definitely it's like you're not in the scene living it. You're observing and watching it. So Virgo, maybe you need to do that, or maybe if you're always observing and not participating and living, maybe you need to dive in. So that's the message, is like, which are you doing? Which do you need? You'll know, because if you need to step back and observe, you'll be tired and overwhelmed and frustrated often. So you've been in it. You've been in the drama, you know, or listening or whatever you're doing, too busy or too overworked. But if you're not living and you're observing all the time, then you probably have been isolating, working alone, staying alone a lot, not going out, and feeling a little more lonely, which would suggest you got to do the other and jump into life again. All right. Let's see for Libras. What's your message, Libra? This is a cute card. You have the Three of Wands. So you've got these columns or trees, or they look like zebras, and you've got all these kids climbing all over them. You've got a lion at the top of one of them who looks a little bit scared, and a little girl is trying to climb up. You've got a monkey at the top of the other one who looks quite happy there, and another little kid trying to climb. And then you've got two kids talking to each other at the other one, and somebody's at the bottom looking upwards. So this is a really, Usually this is a card that's considered to be virtue or spirituality or play the self. In this case, it's sort of, I get a lot of playfulness with this one. And you have a mix of like, on one hand, you have like a scaredy lion. You have like a happy, like mischievous little monkey. And then you have two people just blah, 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 blah. Two kids just having fun. So I'm going to just ask you, which one do you relate to the most right now? And the challenge then would be to integrate, again, all three of those. Like maybe every Libra I know is social, and they're all, most Libras I know can also be clever and they can be happy alone. The scaredy lion is the one that's sort of a surprise, right? Think about the Wizard of Oz, the lion that had no courage and was thought it was all shy, and turns out he had to find his heart and his courage. So that could represent maybe social anxiety or a side of you that withdraws. And then you've got all these little kids at the bottom. It's sort of like they have to climb. The inner child has to sort of make that journey. The kids on top look like they're a bit older than the ones at the bottom. Yeah, it sort of looks like you need to be more lighthearted and playful about your social interactions, not worry so much. And it also can represent for sure inner child. If you want to dig into the deeper healing side of things, do you need to do some inner child exploration to help you overcome something socially? Alrighty. Scorpios, what is your message? And you have the Eight of Wands. So you got a windmill on some sort of platform. You have an owl that's landing on it. And you've got a ladder that goes up into the windmill and all these rats below. So the owl has come to roost because he can sense lunch. Eight of Wands is usually spontaneity and travel and taking a leap of faith. I mean, obviously this owl has found the opportunity of a lifetime because the bottom of it's full of rats, like it's full of food. So he knows that he just needs to perch and wait. He's found the right place. He's found the right place. So Scorpio, you might also feel like you have also found the right scenario for you, the right place, you know, where you can get your needs met, just like the owl, where you've found the right, yeah, I mean, I don't want to say anything more than that because it's not about like predator prey and all that stuff, but like an owl and rats. But overall, like the owl is flying in and took a risk and is getting the jackpot here with, oh, that's what I need. And look, there it is. And there's plenty of it. So there's an abundant feeling for you right now of finding what you want, who you need, and being in the right environment. It's giving you what you need. So that's pretty cool. Sagittarius, what is the answer for you right now? And you have the Chariot. Okay. Very different Chariot. You see half the night sky is black with golden stars. The other is a sunny sky with black stars. So yin yang, male, female. One horse is white, one horse is black. So again, very strong feeling of like union of opposites. You're trying to unite male and female, dark and light, you know, past and present, like all these dualities. And it's trying to, the charioteer is trying to get these in line Now, again, there's a chalice at the front of the card, sort of representing, love, emotion, but also like the prize or the goal. And we've got, again, a little ladybug here, which usually means good luck. And we've got a crab on the chariot. But the charioteer herself, and it's interesting, it's a woman this time, doesn't look too worried or like she has to try too hard to get this to roll. This chariot is rolling. It's not stalled. I don't get a feeling like in many of the chariot cards that you have to try too hard or that you have to push too hard or that you have to be too careful right now. Chariot usually does mean there's obstacles to overcome. The horses look like they don't have much of a choice but to work together. They're not veering off or veering away. They look like they're pretty tightly controlled. So perhaps you have a nice little sweet spot right now where there's a lot of different people, different types of people, different factors going on all at once, and they're somehow working amazingly well right now, even though it's not obvious that they would have, without too much effort as well. So if that's what's going on for you, that's really golden. That's lovely. All right. Capricorns, what's your message for this new moon? And we've got the Two of Swords. So that's a beautiful card. She's got the yin yang behind her. She's meditating in a lotus bloom. The two swords are on either side of her like columns. One has an owl, one has an eagle. There's a little sort of strange looking dog. It looks like a dog, but it's a fox tail and fox face, but looks like a dachshund. Sort of weird. These cards are sort of fantastical. This is somebody who's at peace and has her guardians, The owl guards at the night, the eagle guards probably by the day. They both fly, they both see, like a huge perspective from the air, or like literally the owl turns its neck almost 360 degrees. So she can be at peace if these two guys are guarding her. There's some sort of suggestion of lightning behind her, and yet she's at peace. This thing down at the bottom, whether it's a dog or a fox, do you see? Looks like a dog, but it's a fox's tail. A dog would mean loyalty and routines. A fox would mean, again, stealthy, clever, swift, trickster. However, the owl and the sword of that owl are keeping it at bay or blocked from doing anything to her. Is it another guardian? Maybe. It's on the ground and it would bark its head off, or it would sense danger. So it's funny because Two of Swords is usually about just, having two choices, balance, two opposing ideas, trying to merge two things together. Like there's no real clear answer with the Two of Swords. Sometimes it can mean peace, though, like in some decks. And in this case, I would say it does. I would say right now you're fairly well protected and surrounded, and you can afford to relax and have some peace. And maybe it would be good to take some time to rest and meditate. Aquarius, what is your message? You have the Page of Cups, so that's like the Princess of Cups. So here she is. See her beautiful dress with all the shells, and she's before a clamshell here on top of a turtle. And there's some sort of gopher or that could be a groundhog coming out of a shell, a clamshell. It's funny. Flowers in her hair, taking a drink. She's also got some other creatures behind her there with wings. And on the turtle's back, I mean, the clamshell already suggests, that there's a pearl inside, like that there's something beautiful that's opened up here. There's a lot of joy, celebration, partying, perhaps. Not like to get drunk and stuff, like joy and celebrating. The turtle would say, slow and steady wins the race, though, and would be cautious and would be steady and would take a long time. This is an old, big turtle. So it sort of looks like somebody who has the ability to dance and be merry because she has the right conditions and protection and people that are supporting and funding her. So we'll leave it at that. Okay, Aquarius, you probably get the message somewhere in what I just said. And finally, Pisces, what is your message? And you have the Empress. Okay. It's interesting because, she's got Venus on her crown. She's holding the world in her hand. It looks like a little apple, but it's a globe. She's got the stork like usual. Or sorry, no, it's a pelican in this case. So again, there's a lot of things about fertility. Her belly is huge. She looks like she's pregnant. There's flower trees in full bloom behind her, and there's flowers she's carrying. There's a frog at her feet. There's a big shell that looks like you can see like a looking glass almost. And there are creatures in the water below her, and her feet are in the water. And there's a door behind her in the darkness. And she's just chilling. She's just totally content and chilling. The world is hers. Forgive the language, but her bra is off and her feet are bare, and she's hanging out near the river, and she's good. She's good. She's also got little bees on her skirt, again, her fertility. And she's got some sort of power behind her that she can afford to hang out like this and just, give birth to whatever it is that she is birthing. Now, not all of you listening are going to be pregnant. I don't predict pregnancies en masse for one sign. Some of you might be, but pregnancy and birth and birthing something can be anything, it can be, when I write a book, it's like birthing something. It's months of work, and then it comes out. And then there it is, arriving in the world, and it has a life of its own. It happens with long-term projects. It happens with aspects of yourself that you're, long held and lots of effort have gone in, and then maybe you come out and you say, hey, this is what I'm doing, or who I am. This is what I'm doing now. So there's a birthing and creative process, and it looks very comfortable for you. I don't think anything's going to step in the way of it. So you can just sort of chill and enjoy this time. Enjoy how it all unfolds, every little detail. Definitely a letting loose kind of feeling with this Empress. All right, as I said before, if you would like a reading, of course, I still do readings, so you just message me below here or at my email's below at river-rain.com, or you can find me on socials. All right, I hope you have a wonderful new moon, everybody.